Hey traders, Charting Man Dan of the Chart Guys checking in on the markets, and we've got more megaphone. And I've realized why I find megaphones so difficult. It's nice to be able to recognize the megaphone in advance, but for me it's because I've become so accustomed to trading equilibriums and got good at trading equilibriums that the normal way that you go about things is when you see a significant amount of volatility in both directions, so a big drop and then a big bounce, you scout the lower high. And more often than not, it's an equilibrium more than a megaphone. That's a higher probability because megaphones are a bit less common. But when you've got the megaphone, the bounce follow-throughs are more extreme. So I would be looking for an hourly lower high this afternoon around 1 p.m. And then we just go higher until 2 p.m. and then go higher until 3 p.m. And it's just overextending these moves. Likewise, on the drop, I would have expected the S&P 500 to at least initially hold the previous low of the day. But it didn't. It went right through it. And the bear break lacked follow through. So it's interesting to observe. It's something that I'm going to continue to get better at, as really I've been focusing on it the last year or two of trading. But this megaphone is a top watch until it breaks. And right now we're potentially saying another hourly lower high on the S&P 500. If this megaphone breaks bull, it's going to be, in my opinion, right now is the low that the bulls need to hold if the weekly consolidation is going to be favorable and healthy. If we break to a new low with any kind of follow through, that's when the bulls are going to start seeing red flags, because again, that's when the retracement size becomes significant. That's when we create space for a weekly lower high to be the result of the next bounce. If we hold these EMAs and the daily bounce gets going from here and that megaphone breaks bullish, then it's possible that these are bull flags. So that's what the battle is from here over the next couple of days. Pretty much if the megaphone breaks bull, weekly, staying very healthy is still on the table. If the megaphone breaks bear, that's the first red flag for this weekly consolidation from a bull's perspective. Another thing to note is we had a day where all major sectors hit the low of the day at the same time. And this does not happen often, but this was an example of if you only looked in one direction today, you would have missed a big bounce. And again, that's for me personally, I'm A-okay with that because of how often that signal works. You know, maybe it's 80% probability where if all sectors are hitting one direction at the same time, all of our major sectors, that you're not going to see any significant move in the opposing direction that day. But today was one of those examples where obviously it's not always like that. So in the end, I didn't do a whole bunch of trading today, picking up a Chart Guys team member from the airport. He's filming me as we speak, but we are looking at, can this bounce follow through? And that's pretty much, until we break this megaphone, that's all I care about. Have we broken the megaphone? No, then I'm not getting any information yet. And the NASDAQ has one as well, so potentially shaping up a tightening hourly range if we pull back overnight tonight. But again, the burden is on bulls to break these megaphones in their favor. You look at the NASDAQ weekly chart, again, it's very healthy right now. So if this could be the low of consolidation, then again, it's going to remain very healthy. So bears need to break this megaphone in their favor, or we need to break it bull with no follow through and then keep the daily downtrend going. But that's the bigger picture of where we're looking here in the short term. Checking in on the Netflix short. So ended up exiting half of the short too early because we collapsed today. We were down over 5% at one point, but I'm proud of this trade. And I'm proud of this trade, not by the dollar amount of my profit, because you know I can make this much in a day with day trading and be in flow state, and I'll say, oh, it was a good day of trading. So what? Move on. Just because that's what I'm used to. But because it's a swing trade and because I stalked this trade for 2 weeks before making an entry, and because everything's aligning of what I was looking for, potential monthly consolidation on Netflix and monthly consolidation of the Netflix divided by QQQ ratio, just going from relative strength to relative weakness. And again, it was the Tesla trade where Tesla did the same thing, relative strength into relative weakness with a big monthly pullback. This is what had me saying, I'm not going to miss this Netflix move. It's a very similar setup of what we were watching on Tesla in terms of the significant relative strength changing to relative weakness. And now it's just a question of how much follow through do we get from here. My first target on the Netflix short was hit at 324.89, this gap fill. And now I'm looking at really in the mid 200s. I'm looking for the monthly stair step pattern to break and for a pullback. And I'm just going to take it a day at a time. And at this point, it would probably be, as long as we're in a daily downtrend, I'm going to keep the remainder short position that I have open. We did see a big bounce here on the hourly for Netflix, but bulls would have to confirm an hourly trend change for anything to shift. Tried a couple of shorts at the end of the day, looking for that hourly lower high. And again, that's where that megaphone comes into play, but stopped out break even on this attempt. I shorted 324 and scaled out 3/4 of the position, stop out, break even. I then attempted one more here and then just gave up and said I'm done for the day. But overall, uneventful day, aside from that Netflix bear follow through. Natural gas, we're covering it at the forefront of the video, not last. What has changed? The most significant attempt for a bottom that I've seen in the last 2 months. So I think that there is, and really that's as simple as it is. It's the highest probability for me that a bottom has been set. Am I confident that the bottom has been set yet? Not entirely, but again, I'm seeing enough signs where we had now the 4-hour uptrend. We had a reaction to the inventory report, which was initially a pullback, but just continuation up. So UNG and Boyle are getting their move up. And so again, on a daily basis, Boyle is now on my watch list for day trades. And we set an hourly higher low today on Boyle at 497 and then went up 10% from there. So again, it's very volatile and you got to get used to watching it and natural gas. You got to go know when the natural gas inventory reports are Thursday, 10:30 a.m. But we're looking for a longer term bottom to be set in natural gas. And the next thing that the bulls need to do is get over daily EMA 12 for the first time in the last 2 months of trading. So great start, more follow through needed, but it's on the menu for trades, absolutely. The dollar, 104.67 broke. Not a whole lot of follow through. So I did mention, I think in yesterday's video, the potential that we have to keep an eye out for a possible rising wedge. Again, I'm not confident that that's shaping up. If we have a red day in the dollar tomorrow, then this pattern becomes a good bit more likely for me. And if the rising wedge on the daily were to break bear, that would essentially just mean zoom out to the weekly and watch for potential weekly consolidation. But overall, the dollar bulls still have complete control, and it's just a question of, can we follow through over 104.67? SMH, solid day for the bulls thanks to NVDA earnings. The weekly consolidation on SMH is very healthy. It's a bull flag. Again, if you want to just keep it simple, if the weekly EMAs are holding on the back test, again, just like Bitcoin did before Bitcoin saw continuation, if the EMA is holding on the back test, that's healthy and the bulls are just fine. So NVDA up to new highs, weekly bull flag already confirmed there thanks to earnings. And the next resistance level, we're looking up, there's a gap, 252, let's see, there's a gap here, 230, we already filled that. So I'm just looking up at 239.05, 247.03, 252.81. Not a ton of resistance in this range. Once we cleared 227, we don't have a whole lot of resistance. And so we're just going to be watching now how long can the NVDA bulls keep their control after a significant gap up and a pretty decent close overall. We set the hourly higher low. It's a potential hourly bull flag, and the hourly uptrend will be our guide. Tesla bulls were all over the place today. Big drop on the morning, big bounce on the afternoon, and overall potential head and shoulders on the daily to keep an eye on. This would be the left shoulder, this would be the head. Essentially, if we fail the high and then drop down and break 191.78, that would be notable as far as losing the daily uptrend and confirming a daily downtrend. So that's something I'm going to be watching closely. If the megaphone in the broader market breaks bear, keeping an eye out for Tesla to be a laggard bear on the pullback. Healthcare sector didn't really do a whole lot today, up 0.3%. So not really anything changing there. Daily downtrend still intact. Same thing with the financial sector. It was flat on the day. We saw a little bit of a bull break, a little bit of a bear break. Again, that's the megaphone way. You can see it's not as clear a megaphone pattern as the futures chart, but it's very similar. So we're just watching these megaphones everywhere. And again, it's important to recognize these because they're tricky. IWM, double bottom at the low of yesterday. We broke it by 5 pennies into a bounce. The weekly consolidation here is still very healthy. So the next thing that the bears need to see is lose these weekly EMAs. And that's when things get, okay, that's going to shift my perspective a good bit in terms of, I'm very open to quick weekly higher lows forming right now. If we lose weekly EMA 12, that's going to shift my outlook. And at this point in time, again, I have my IRA with a bit of a bear lean, and I did take some bear profit yesterday. And right now I'm gauging on a daily basis, do I want to go back to flat? Do I want to go back to a bull lean? I'm going to need a lot of bull proof before I do that. Essentially right now it's just a question of, do I keep my bear lean or do I go back to flat? And I'm in no rush to make any decision, but essentially today and tomorrow, that's the question that's on my mind. Biotech sector, same thing as far as the bear break and the bull break, not a whole lot of information. Still an hourly downtrend, or I should say we lost the hourly uptrend. So no information for me on the biotech sector. Riot and MARA, we're looking for these daily higher lows to try and be set. And I would say that top watch for me tomorrow is MARA, because at the double top at 743 breaks, the daily higher low is then set. So I like the fact that it's a nice little double top of resistance. And looking at Bitcoin, the bulls need to confirm an hourly uptrend here. You can see we got an hourly equilibrium all day. So if this hourly equilibrium, it's probably going to break before tomorrow. In an ideal world, it would get really tight. And then the bell rings tomorrow and Bitcoin breaks bull and MARA breaks the double top at 743. That would be a nice bull trade to be keeping an eye on. But we'll see how we shape up pre-market tomorrow. Gold, still weak, testing the lows right now. Bear break without much follow through, but still a clear daily downtrend. Silver testing the lows right now. The miners still leading the way down. So nothing changing there. Still very inverse to the dollar. And oil trying to defend. And this is the 4-hour oversold bounce, holding the low 72s and watching our 2-day equilibrium trying to shape up a 2-day higher low. So a green day tomorrow for oil would have that 2-day higher low set and have a nice tightening equilibrium into likely the start of March. We don't have many trading days left here in February. 3 more trading days. So probably in March. So liking the clarity of things, as much as I dislike megaphones, it's nice and clear that that's what we're watching here in the short term. I like the weekly chart for clarity on a lot of these sectors. And, if you ask me, are we going to be looking bullish or bearish for the first 2 weeks of March? I have no idea. And I don't have to know that answer right now because the way that we break this megaphone is going to help give me that information. So again, I'm staying very agile and fluid with my analysis, and I am not attached to any bias whatsoever, and I am patiently waiting for a bit more clarity. I hope you had a great day. Appreciate you watching. Jungle Funk Joey's about to get going with his webinar here, and we will see you this weekend in a couple videos. I got a prop video we're going to put out. Lori's got an interview with an author, which should be a good one. So keep an eye out over the weekend for some more videos. So we'll wrap up story time here with New England and the White Mountains, and then we'll get into more current recent stuff. I'll go over my garden game plan and we'll watch it grow before our eyes. But first things first, this is Baxter State Park. Oh man, mountain is slipping my mind. Someone's going to name this mountain. It's the end of the Appalachian Trail. If you start the Appalachian Trail in the south and you hike up north, this is the last hurdle to get through to complete the journey. And anybody that does that journey is absolutely insane and an absolute machine to pull that off. But go to the White Mountains and New England in the fall, as it is an incredible place. So an awesome hike up, and this is the trail. This is called Knife's Edge Trail to get to the top, and it's pretty sketchy. But it was a good time. I went with a couple of buddies, and this was just a short, overnight weekend stay where we did this hike. And then from there, headed back down to Maine, where I had worked on the farm for that season. So revisited back in Maine, met some sheep friends. That's Timo, the guard dog. He is currently guarding sheep in heaven. And these are the 2 female dogs. That's Bear and that's Sobe, Australian Shepherds. Those are the ones that would always fight. I wasn't there a whole lot once Timo moved in. He was a neighboring farmer's dog and they were moving. And I wonder if Timo kept them in line more. I'd be curious to know that answer. But the leaves changing and the landscape is just all color explosion and really cool to go check out. And here in North Carolina, Western North Carolina, I would say it doesn't rival, but It's not a far second behind New England in terms of foliage in the fall. And these are 3 books that I read on my road trip up north. Hempbound, this was a really good one, just in terms of updated information about the legalization of hemp and how Canada had the head start and how the U.S. would need to learn a lot from Canada, who had, I mean, in the U.S., it was really, you couldn't even get cultivation equipment for hemp. It just wasn't even made. So it was very interesting watching the development of the, and obviously it's changed very much since then, but the hemp industry. And this is more on lucid dreaming and things of that nature. And always down for some Native American insight and knowledge. And that's another good one. Lame Deer Secret Visions. And the other one is Black Elk Speaks as a good one. And that's that. So I will see you all tomorrow. Have a good day.